Cape Fear Business Roundtable is sponsored by two branding partners located under one roof right here in southeastern North Carolina. Pioneer Strategies is a strategic communication firm focused on helping you build success through effective strategic communication. Pioneer Specialties is your promotional products partner, ready to help you through the entire process from product research through product delivery. For more information about our sponsors, visit capefearbusiness.com.
Welcome to Cape Fear Business Roundtable. I'm your host, Frank Williams, and today we have with us Judy Budd of ConnectCapeFear.com. Judy, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. We're very excited about this.
Well, and we look forward to hearing more about both your business and also an event you have coming up that we'll talk about in a few minutes as well.
Good.
But before we get into business, I do like to ask people a few questions about them personally. And obviously, we live in an area that is growing fast and people moving here from all over the place. And so tell us a little bit about where you came from, and if you're not from here, how you ended up in this part of the state.
Well, I'm not from here, but I've been here 21 years, so I kind of think that's almost native. I moved
That's
here from
almost native.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm certainly not much older than 21. Ha ha. But I moved here from California. I've lived a lot of places. Born and raised in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. Went from Cleveland to Chicago, from Chicago to New York to Cleveland, California, and then here. So,
And
but I do
where
consider
in
this home.
California were you?
I was in the Los Angeles area.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've got some cousins that live in that general area. I could not tell you the name of which little town outside of LA,
yeah,
but they're in that general vicinity.
yeah. I was in Orange
So,
County, and it was pretty close to God's country. But
but now you're actually in
I
God's
am
country.
in God's country. There is no question. I love Wilmington. I absolutely adore the
You know.
city.
Well, and tell us what you love about the Wilmington area and what your favorite things are to do or places to go when you're not working.
Well, I love everything except the humidity. That I could do without, but I love the people. I love the lifestyle. In California, you had gatekeepers for everything and so much traffic, and I literally go a little bit like, how could anybody talk about how much traffic there is here? Because when you are stopped on College or MLK or whatever for a few minutes, it's like, that is not traffic. I mean, Los Angeles is traffic. But, I love the quality of the lifestyle that we have here. You have so many things you can do. There's culture. You're within an hour or two from anything you could conceivably want to do. There's golf courses galore in our area. And that was one of the attractions when we moved here, when my husband and I moved here before he passed away. But, it's, there's just so many things. And I mean, I like to do everything. So, I don't have a very go-to place. I love to go out to eat.
Hard to
I
narrow it
love
down.
to, walk my dog. I love to be with people. So I'm just out there whatever I feel like doing, I do.
Well, that's good to have so many things you enjoy that you can't pick just
Oh yeah.
one. I've run across people who don't enjoy anything, and it's better to be on the other end of that spectrum.
Well, I'm a glass half full rather than a glass half empty kind of a person. So I make fun no matter where I go.
I think you have to be a glass half full person to have a
I
business, or you
I
won't do
agree.
very well. And speaking of business, when I met you, you were working for the Business Journal. So tell us a little bit about your career journey and what you've done before starting this business, and then we'll get into talking
All
about your
right.
business.
Well, I've had a varied, very, very, varied career. When I moved here, I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do, so I literally, kind of just took a little bit of time and looked at doing mortgage. Hated the thought of doing that. Ended up selling Aflac for about a year, maybe a year and a half, when Rob Kaiser from the Business Journal found me through Reggie Shropshire. Reggie introduced me to him, and I loved it. I mean, I ended up accepting the position with Rob and was with him for about 13 and a half years, retired in January of 21, and had always had this desire to create a networking directory. And during COVID, working from home, pretty much said to myself, there is no way you're ever going to do this. Your husband needs you. And so in an effort to, declutter, I threw out all the notes that I had acquired for probably a good 13 or 14 years. Anyway, long story short, I retired. I reached out to Jenna a couple months after my retirement and said, I really want to create this directory. I know it has to go digital. Who should I be reaching out to have them help me with this? And a week later, we got back together. Of course, she said, well, I love, love, love what you've done, but you need to create way more than that. You can't have just the networking. You need to have, all of the nonprofit organizations, all the women's groups, men's groups, civic groups, veterans groups, churches, colleges, anything you can join, attend, participate in, volunteer at on your website. And oh, by the way, and she had done a bogus website for me. She took her Port City Young Professionals website, plopped it over, did some bogus information on there. And it's like, wow, Jenna, why don't you become my partner? And she said yes. So we started, pulling all the information together. And because I had a non-compete with Rob, I did not actually get to start having us go live until the following year. But we officially went live April 1st of 2022. And voila, here we are. 3.5 years later, still going very strong, very happy, and making a lot of, I think, newcomers, especially to our area, aware of what this city has to offer, our Tri-County area.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit more about, your vision for connectcapefear.com and kind of what your mission is and what, obviously you've kind of touched on it, but let's drill a little bit deeper and just, if somebody's never heard of your website, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that this website is going to help them fall in love with this community like all of us who live here have fallen in love with this community. We have over 1,100 pages on the website of anything you can join, attend, participate in, or volunteer at. It's really a community resource and designed to be able to help people in Pender, Brunswick, and New Hanover counties find a way to get involved in their community. My gosh, I mean, there's just soup to nuts. I mean, you've got running clubs. There's, all of the nonprofits if you want to volunteer. We have a community calendar on there to help you find ways that you can do things. Check it. There might be, any given day, there could be 5 to 15 things listed. There's just oodles and oodles of ways to get involved, because the more involved you are in your community, I have found, the more you love your community. And if you love your community, you're happy and you want to live here, and then life is good. And I think if you're happy, the rest of your life falls into place.
And I think that is a great philosophy. And it's amazing to me the people who will complain about their community, but then they don't get involved, even though there are a million opportunities to get involved. And they say, well, nobody ever told me how to get involved. So if you're watching this and have been saying, I need to get more involved, you need to go to connectcapefear.com right now. And I'm sure you can find some way, shape, or form on that website that you can get plugged into your community. And I think that's one of the things that sets Brunswick County, or southeastern North Carolina, and even America apart from other places, is that people get involved and make their community a better place because they want
I
to, not
agree
because
with you.
someone
And
tells them they
actually,
have
we
to.
have a newsletter that we send out once a month. Doesn't have a lot of the gobbledygook, articles and stuff on it, but it's free. Anybody can sign up. They can just go onto our website. They can sign up for that. We're going to send it out once a month. It's going to literally give them latest podcasts that we've got with people, blogs, special offers that are discounts perhaps within the community. And certainly Jenna is going to put on there all the different things that she thinks people would be interested in going to this month. She'll highlight them. It's certainly not everything that we can do, but she highlights the ones that she thinks are, more interesting, or, probably going to have a better turnout.
It's interesting, and I'd not thought of this comparison with a website that I was familiar with back when I lived in Raleigh 20 some years ago. And it was purely a business networking website. It was all about all the different networking events that were happening. And
Oh my
the guy called it
gosh.
freechickenwings.com. And it actually had such a big following that he had a couple of thousand people on his newsletter, and I bought some ads in there and got a bigger response on those ads than any other ad I ever put
Well,
anywhere else for what I was doing at the time, because people were interested in those events, and they obviously that was specific to business, and this is more than that, but it's an interesting comparison about even 20 years ago, how that
well, we have over
concept
4,000
had legs then.
subscribers to our newsletter every month. Yeah,
And
it
I'm
does.
sure that it's gonna continue to grow because everybody
Exactly.
wants to know
Yeah,
what's going on and what to do
yeah.
and what they can get involved in. And, what else should people know about your website before we move on and talk
Well,
about an
they
event
should
that I
know
know you
that,
guys have coming up?
it's certainly if anybody wants to advertise, we certainly offer podcasts and blogs and special offers and opportunities for them to advertise on the newsletter. And we're doing reels now. Um, it's very easy to use our website. You can, if in fact, if somebody doesn't know what they're looking for, let's say they really are brand new to our community and they want to get involved, but they don't know the names of things, we have a tab on there called Get Matched. They can hit that. They fill out a questionnaire of what they're looking for, and then Jenna and I do the research for them, send them a personal email back saying, these are the organizations we think you might be interested in getting involved in because they're going to fit what you're looking for. So I think that's a pretty unique thing to have as well. I mean, I think it's just such a resource for people, because the folks that advertise, you can find them. They're offering, opportunities for new people to find ways to get involved as well, because most of them are very active in the community. And that is one of the things when we're doing the
Right.
podcasts or the blogs, we always ask people, what are you doing? Because a company that's involved is going to be, I think, more attuned to what's happening in town as well.
If someone's involved with a nonprofit and they wanna make sure that their nonprofit is referenced in your database, how do they go about contacting you, or how do
They
they submit
actually
their
have the
events
ability
if they
to
have an
put
event
all of
coming
their
up?
information on our website without our help. There's a tab on there that they can,
Okay.
click on the tab, fill out our questionnaire. Once Jenna gets that, she will approve it, make sure that all their information is correct. And they can post on our community calendar anything they have. We don't charge for any of that for the nonprofit organizations. Actually, none of our listers pay a thing. Those are all free listings. We encourage people to
Mm,
keep their website up to date, or their page with us up to date. Keep adding information to the
right.
community calendar because it just keeps putting more information out there for the community. And they can literally send emails out if they're looking for volunteers through our site. They can send information to us. We'll be happy to, you know, send information out about their event. We love to support that nonprofit organization group and also others who are doing things, all the networking folks.
Well, I think that's a great resource, and I would encourage anybody watching this or listening to it, if you're in an organization, make sure that Judy
Thank
and
you.
Jenna have your information in their database if they don't already. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. I know you have an event coming up on September the 18th. Tell us about that event and
Okay. Well,
who you
I
need to
think we're
sign up that
going to
hasn't
do
signed up
our
yet.
first ever 60s plus single event. It's going to be held at the City Club in downtown Wilmington. And we need to have more men sign up, quite frankly. We've got quite a few women that have already signed up, but very few men. And we are really trying to help. I mean, I found after my husband passed away, so many women have said to me, like, how do you meet people? How do you meet people? And, when you're older, it's very difficult because most folks will not be going to a local bar to sit there and meet people. They have to meet them through friends or other ways. And so,
Right.
um, like when I decided it was time to start um, getting someone back into my life, I joined a dating site, but sometimes they're not exactly what you want either. So I suggested to Jenna that we pull an event together, and that would be an effort for me to be able to meet some additional folks. And she said, "Well, my gosh, I love this idea, Judy. Let's do it." And so I have had so many people say to me, "Oh my gosh, it's so wonderful because we don't know how to meet people, and this is a safe environment." We'll, we'll have some mixers types questions and things to be able to do icebreakers and just have a really comfortable environment. And if it works, which we're hoping it does, we'll continue to do them every other month or every month. And I've had some women say to me, "Can I please just slip in? I'm a little bit under 60." And I go, "Nope, I'm sorry, you can't. But stick with us because if this one works out, we'll probably start doing events for folks 50 and over." It's just the young people, they always have the opportunity to meet people. It's just the older folks, they don't. And there are so many people that are looking to try to get involved that this was our motivation. A little selfish perhaps on my part to start, but certainly,
And yeah, I think a lot of great ideas come from a personal interest that someone has because that's what motivates them. And I think it's so different than it probably was 50 years ago when most people lived in the same area they grew up and knew a lot of people. You've got so many people who moved here from other places that don't have that built-in network of people who they grew up around because those are all somewhere else. And so I think that would make it harder to connect with new people in that situation.
we
How do people
actually you
sign
can
up for
sign
this,
up
or do they
through
just
our
show up, or
website,
what's the process for that?
connectcapefear.com. And we also have an event page on Facebook. So, certainly either of those. And worst case, if they absolutely can find nothing, just reach out to me, Judy at connectcapefear.com, and I'll get them hooked up, the right way. In fact, anybody who would like to even be involved with anything in the website or have questions about it, just reach out to me. I'm very, very happy to talk with them.
Yeah. And I think the takeaway from this is anyone who's interested in that, who's
You're
over
darn
60 and
right we
single,
do.
sign up. But you
Yeah.
especially need more males to sign up right now, is what I'm hearing. Is that correct? I know. Well, we will certainly put a link to that
Thank you.
event in our promotional information for this podcast, and hopefully that will help as well. Well, changing gears again, I always love for people to share some things they've learned so that our listeners can learn from each other. So, with that in mind, what are some things you've learned during your
I
career
sure
that you
wish I
wish
knew
you had
as
known the
much
day
as
you
I know
started
now
in your work
back
life?
when I was in my 20s. I think when we're young, we sort of have that we know everything attitude. We're smarter than older people. Boy, that's not the case. I love I love helping young people realize that they have huge potential, and I love being able to connect people, and that's probably the thing I do much more now than I did then. But I wish I had learned to do then because I have found when you connect people, you then become, well, my nickname has always been the connector or the mayor or something in town, because when you connect people, you get more connected yourself. And somehow it always comes back to you. I mean, I'll be at an event and
That
I
is
have
true.
I have learned that you look for the person who's standing alone, looks scared to death because they're more frightened than anybody. They're not the outgoing type. So I always will walk up to that person and say, "Hi, are you new? Is this your first time at the event or whatever?" Find out a little bit about them. Look for somebody I know in the group that might be able to help them with a connection for something. The next thing you know, they're talking. I can extricate myself from that group and look for the next one that needs to have some help and get an introduction because it's just so much more fun if you can do that. If you can connect people, you are connected to yourself and you just feel so much better about yourself.
And I think, these days
Exactly.
people can be so digitally connected that they're really not connected. You can be connected online and still feel alone in the world because it's a mile wide and an inch deep. And I grew up in an era where networking was done face to face before social networking was around, and so did you. So talk a little bit about your approach to networking and why you think it's so important. I know that's obviously something. I've met you through networking, and you set up a networking site and are having a networking event. So I'm assuming it's something you place some importance on. So talk a little bit about why you think it's important, and maybe if somebody who was coming to you that was getting
Well,
started
it's
in their
interesting.
career, what
I
you
am
would tell
called the
them about
networking
how to
queen,
build their network.
and I think, well, I'll give you a couple of examples. I was mentoring a young lady through the Wilma Leadership Institute, and she had no clue how to go to a networking event, how to talk to people or anything. And she and her husband were getting ready to go on a cruise. And so the lessons I suggested to her I said, you're not going to ever see these people again in your life. So anything you practice here is good because it's all brand new. So I suggested to her that when they were going into
Right.
like dinner or whatever, or to an event, that she doesn't walk in with her husband. She goes in and she looks for the person standing alone, start a conversation with them, gave her a bunch of suggested topics that she could discuss because she didn't even know questions to ask. Well, I have to tell you, this woman has blossomed beyond blossoming. She came back from that cruise and she said, I cannot believe how many people I met. And Judy, you won't believe it, but half of those people live in Wilmington. Apparently, there was some sort of she will see them, but she was happy about that.
Oh, she will
Just
see them again.
recently, I was at one of the Business Journal after hours events, and I saw this young man just sitting all by himself having a beer. And so I got chatting with him, and he's relatively new to our area. So I started introducing him to, people. Well, he ended up having the Business Journal write an article about him. I have now helped him get a job through another connection. And I mean, it's just people have to know that if they network, they're going to meet people. You never know who is able to help you or who you're going to help. It's just part of life. You have to give and you'll receive. If you go ahead. I know we are.
Yeah, and that I think you and I are wired the same way as far as that goes. I mean, I would so much rather
Absolutely.
look at my phone and scroll through to find a plumber than go to the yellow pages. I would so much rather, if I don't have somebody in my phone, go
Absolutely.
to my friends on Facebook and ask somebody in my network or my LinkedIn, who do you recommend? And I don't remember the
Well,
last
and it's
time
so
that
important.
even before I started my
It just
business, that I got
does
a
so
job
many
that
different
wasn't through
things
my own
for you.
network.
Um,
You know,
I don't know. It is in my blood. I know that. And people tease me about it all the time. And I love it. I don't care if you want to tease me because I just think networking is so incredibly important. And, you shouldn't be frightened of it.
and it's fun. People overcomplicate it. People make it so much more complex than it is. And
Absolutely.
I've got a
And
very simple definition of networking. It's just making friends before you
exactly.
need
And
them.
I did, when we first
And
started
you
our
don't make
website,
friends by taking,
I
you make
wrote a
friends
little
by giving.
article, a little blog on the website all about networking and some tips for young people, how to get themselves out of the fear mode because people think, oh my God, if I'm going to go, I'm not going to know anyone. And, how am I going to be able to meet anyone? You go in and put a smile on your face and walk up to somebody and say hello. That's
Yeah.
the first easy step. And don't talk about yourself. Ask them questions. They will think you're the best conversationalist if you find out about them. If you want to know more about, pardon me?
That
Exactly.
is Dale
And
Carnegie
then if you
101.
really want to,
Dale
like try
Carnegie
to get a
101
business
right there.
relationship going with them, wait until the next day. Send them an email and then set up a coffee or a one-on-one session with them.
We may need to do a separate podcast just on networking. And I was thinking while we were talking that we get the two of us and
I
one or
would
two other
love that.
people
And
who
I
are
think that's a great
master
idea.
networkers and do a podcast just about how to network. We'll make a note of that. Um, because I think especially so many people come up in the age of
Absolutely.
technology and they don't know how to do it face to face, but there is a way to use technology as part of your networking as well. I mean, if I'm in a meeting and as soon as I meet
That's
somebody,
great.
I've usually sent them a LinkedIn request before I leave the table. I will quickly do that just to get that connection. And then I'm a big believer in
Well,
the
and
old
I agree with
fashioned
you. I don't do
handwritten
that as
follow up
often
note
as I
if it's
should.
somebody
But I'll
important
tell you
because
the thing
no
that I'm
one
a
does
true
that
believer
anymore.
in: a regular business card. I know so many people want that digital card, and I say to them, it's great. You love it because you don't have to
Yes,
have business cards. But how am I going to find you when I need you? Because I may not remember you tomorrow because I have met maybe 50 or 100 people today.
yeah, exactly. And I will take that
Exactly.
business
And
card, that
also,
paper
you
one,
have
and I
the
will put
ability
you in
to
my
write on the back of
CRM
the
that I
card. I know
use
people
with
love
notes
glossy
that help me
cards.
find
We'll
you.
only do gloss on one side. Let the other side be that you can actually write on that business card, because maybe you want to put a special note. Maybe you want to put your,
Yeah.
cell phone number that you don't have on the front of it. Whatever it is, you've got to have the ability to somehow communicate. And that business card is gold. Yeah.
We've done our
Right.
business cards as fold over, so it's like a mini brochure, is the way I've done mine because I had multiple businesses and I got tired of never knowing which card to give out. So I combined them all into
There
one.
you go. See?
The inside is one business on top, another business on the bottom, and the front's my contact info. And, but yeah, that we'll follow up on that.
I don't think so. I just wish that people
Well,
would
anything
go
else
and
you want to
use
share
our
about your
website,
businesses before we start to
use it
wrap this up?
frequently, find ways to find things to do for the weekend, things to do during the week, ways to get involved in the community. They'll be much happier. And please sign up for the newsletter. That would be a wonderful thing for us.
And I would encourage everyone to do that. And I'll put those links in the post and email about the podcast. And well, to close this out, back to another personal question. Either tell us either what books you read or are currently reading, or what podcasts you like to listen to, or something along those lines that
Well, it's
you
an
do
interesting
either for
thing. I don't
entertainment
read
or
as
for
often as I
professional
used
development,
to.
whichever you want to
And
mention.
when I do read, I am going to read fiction. I kind of love a little bit of thriller type books. Um, Podcast wise, I typically just look at the podcasts that are on our site. But just of late, I have gotten hooked, and unfortunately, it has consumed all my spare time. I've gotten hooked on a Netflix 7-season program called Scandal. I don't know if you ever. Oh my God. Well, it's been like a
I'm
month
familiar with
of my
Scandal.
watching
My
that, and
wife
I'm only on
was
season
addicted to that
4.
when it
I'm
was
thinking
out.
I've got a
Yeah.
couple more months, so I have a bunch of books ready for me to look at. No Easy Day. I've got several, that I've plopped into, my iPad so that when I'm ready, I'll be able to have them. But unfortunately, I haven't done that lately.
I found I like books with very short chapters. I'm reading a leadership book now called
Oh no, that's
it's
good,
about
because that's
character, and it's
when
by
you can do
General Stanley
snippets with a
McChrystal,
little bit of time.
and each chapter is
Exactly.
about 2.5 pages, and
That's
it's
perfect.
bite sized. And I feel like if I sit down to start to read a chapter, I have to finish the chapter in that sitting. That's just the way I'm wired. And if you give me something with a 50-page chapter, I'm probably never going to read the book because I know I'll never. But if it's got a short chapter, I'll sit down and blow through 2 or 3 chapters and then go do something and then come back and finish it. But it is interesting, about a third of the people I ask these questions give me something related to their business. I had an economist said all he listens to are NBA basketball podcast. So it was completely unrelated, and it was his
And that is an incredibly
decompression and
important thing.
entertainment that
I
had
mean,
nothing
we're
to
all
do
so
with his
involved in our
work. So it's
businesses
always
during
interesting
the
to hear what
day
people
that
say
you
for
need
that.
something to do that is not necessarily business related, because you can't do this 24/7. You'll burn out. Yeah.
And that's 100%. You see the billboards that say mental health is health, and I think people don't pay enough attention, especially business people, to taking care of themselves. And it's
Yeah,
Like in Stephen
yeah,
Covey, he said he talked about the people who were so anxious to get the golden eggs that they killed the goose. They and that's what we can do to ourselves, and we've got to take care of ourselves physically, and I'm certainly not an ideal model citizen for going to the gym. I needed to get back off my
absolutely.
couch and do that, but also
Absolutely.
mentally take
So
time to
important.
decompress and detach and do things that have nothing to do with your work just to clear your head. Well, Judy, thank you for taking the time today, and I hope that our listeners will go to connectcapefear.com and sign up for your
Thank
newsletter
you.
and use your site.
Thank you,
And I
Frank. I
hope that those
appreciate
who
you
are
so
in
much,
your
and I appreciate you
target
letting us
audience
do
for this
this.
event on the 18th will sign up and attend. And we
Thank you.
appreciate
You
you being
too.
with us today.
Bye.
Thank you. You're welcome, and have a good afternoon.